And welcome everyone. Today we are back here with a topic which is for everyone. There's no one who cannot gain from the show today. This show is being healthy. It's a live stream every Thursday at this time, wherever you are. And what we have our co hosts with us today, some of whom have been traveling. One of them is still traveling right now. And actually, two of them are still traveling. Blythe will be back next week. Lisa is traveling, but she will be with us because she's on the same coast in the same country as we are. And we're talking today about how to transform everyday experiences into memories that are just treasures and gems for us. Because how we respond to our everyday experiences is what determines whether or not we have transformed our life, or we stay in a rut or in the same place, whether it's a place we like or not. Life is about transformation and constant change. That is why we have changes of seasons. That is why even in places where you think, oh, but it's tropical, there are no changes of seasons, you'll see that it is seasonal because the fruits are seasonal there. The actual food that grows, fruits and vegetables, are very seasonal. So that everything in life is seasonal. But how do we accept whatever shows up in our life and be okay with it and transform it into experiences that we treasure? So we'll start today with Sabina. Sabina, why are we starting with you? Because you've been away from your former hometown, and we want to hear about your experiences and how they can be transformed from what your memories are. And you need to unmute first, please, Sabina. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone, and I'm very happy to be here after I think, 4-week hiatus. And I just came back from Europe, where I have not been in 6 years. And I grew up in Europe, Germany and France. And now I went back to Germany, to Switzerland, to Italy and France. And I have to say, I had to really work on that transformational piece because a lot of things have changed. And I already been in touch with a friend who gave me that phrase that actually really summed it up. She said, the belt in Europe is being tightened and it's continuing to get tighter and tighter. And I really noticed that. First of all, I grew up in a small town, and all of a sudden there was no more free parking. Every little parking space, there was a meter, and they don't even take coins anymore. You can only pay by card. And my card was not accepted. Somehow it didn't go through. So I felt myself, like not comfortable because I saw police driving around and I did not have a means to pay. And that's just one example, but there's a lot of rules and regulations in Europe that were not there before. And even renting a car was like a big ordeal. I have to tell you the same thing. My card was not accepted, so I had actually called someone and have a friend use their credit card. And no more cash. Like places in Europe, like everywhere I went, very rarely they still accept cash. Here in America, where I live, everyone still accepts cash, but it was very hard to pay in cash in Europe. And then certain things, the card is not accepted, you're like screwed, you can't get anything. So I felt myself multiple situations where I just felt really tightened. And in general, it's so much stricter. And driving in Germany is absolutely mad. I've never driven on the Autobahn, which means no speed limit. And I drove 130 kilometers, which is about 90 miles, and I had them on my ass, constantly pushing on the road next to me. They were like zipping by. Cars in Germany are going like crazy fast. And it was actually scary. I just arrived in the morning. I did not sleep. I was really tired, and I had to be 5 hours on the Autobahn. And it was a really frightening experience, to the point I had sweat running down my spine. And then driving in Italy is another story. In Italy, the roads are very narrow. And I booked something on a cliff because I wanted to have the $1 million view. And I had no idea what it took to get there. First, I had to go really high up, and then I had to go really steep down. Not just steep, but also extremely curvy and narrow. And I rented a completely wrong car. Because when I got to Italy, I noticed there's only like Fiat and small cars. compared to the big cars in Germany. So I rented a big SUV, and it was absolutely the wrong car because I had to go down in a curvy road. I thought I can't do it. I was actually in tears, crying in the car. I said to my son, I can't get there. We just can't. We have to leave the car somewhere else and take a taxi. So ultimately, it took me a long time to get to the place. And it was such an ordeal every time getting in and out of that road. But I had some very scary driving experiences there. I had many times tears in my eyes. I had a lot of stressful situations. So overall, I was extremely stressed. So I had to really, center myself. So, okay, how can I make the best out of this? But after a few days, I actually thought it was a mistake to go to Europe. It was a mistake to do this big trip. But then I said, I already committed to this. Let's just make the best out of it. And one day we just stayed in that place. We didn't go anywhere because it was too difficult to get out of that road. And I just took in the view, and I had this magical view. It was over Portofino. If anyone who was ever there, it's the Ligurian coast, and the water is turquoise. It's like, and it sparkles. It's this beautiful ocean. In the background, you see the mountains, and then the house was on a cliff that would go really steep down. So when you look down, you actually almost get dizzy. But there was all these beautiful gardens with flowers. So one day I just spent taking in the view, taking in the beauty, and really taking in that energy, sitting on that terrace with that view. And I really felt the healing. I just felt it penetrating every cell of my body. And it was such a counter piece to the stress that I just experienced being on the Autobahn and driving in Italy. And really, for me, the goal was in this trip to find the most magical places I can find that are away from and all the places were kind of, not just kind of, they were very touristy. But my goal was to find those quiet, peaceful, magical places where the tourists don't go. So I was actually very blessed. In every place we stayed, I found something really unique and just very special with incredible energy. And I would go early in the mornings or even at night because it was around the full moon and I had just so many magical moments. So yes, I was able to find the beauty and the magic in every place I was. But I first had to go through intense stress. Also, there was a big emotional piece. I have not seen my dad in 6 years, and my dad is very ill. He has dementia, and I was not sure if he's going to recognize me. So walking in his room, I felt this very heavy, very extreme sad energy. And actually, I cried because it was so hard to see him. Like he's just lying there, like a sack of bones and skin, and he's really deteriorated a lot. Doesn't even look like human. He looked like a mummy, and very, very sad. So it was really hard to see him. And I never had a good relationship with my dad, but seeing him then, it brought out such compassion and such sadness, but at the same time, so much love for this man who was actually quite abusive. But in that moment, all I had was compassion and love. So I got to spend a few times, 3 days that I spent some time with my dad. And that was actually, felt my heart just opening, and a lot of childhood memories would come up, like emotions and situations. And I would take my son to all the places that I grew up, where I played as a child. I even took him to Munich, where I lived as a teenager. So I relived all these memories that I experienced as a child and as a teenager by going to all these places in Germany where I spent time, and I showed it all to my son. So it stirred up a lot of things from the past. It brought beautiful memories. It brought pain. I had a lot of emotional stuff coming up. There was actually one night I felt so sick I couldn't sleep, and I had such pain in my heart. I thought I'm dying because something got stirred up that I had to process. But a lot of memories, and I don't want to go on too long, but it was quite a deep journey of remembrance, journey of like the past coming up, but also showing up in a different way and not letting those emotions move through me, and find the beauty and the peace and the wonder in everything I experienced. So I'm going to keep it at that.
So that sounds like a very transformative trip for you.
Yes, it was not a vacation by no means. I see it as a transformative journey, diving into the past, connecting to old friends, connecting to family I haven't seen, connecting to old places that I grew up, collecting also to ancient lands such as in Corsica, which is a beautiful island just off the coast of Italy, and then spending time in some ancient city, an ancient village that was up on a cliff where no cars are allowed. So it's just all walking, and everything is medieval and ancient. So that place brought up also so much something, like a lot of this ancientness, like almost I felt I was there at some point before. And that was also really beautiful. And it was just the ocean there. Like the ocean is wild. It was actually, you couldn't go in. It was quite dangerous. It was really wild. There was something about these cliffs and the mountains, and there was just so many different landscapes coming together. There was forest, there was mountains, there was olive vineyards, and in Corsica there was the desert even. So all these different landscapes coming together with all these different colors. And there's such a wildness, and even places I went, they were completely untouched by nature, untouched by humans. And these old towns that I've seen, they're still the same as they were 100 years ago, or who knows, but there's nothing really changed. There's no Starbucks or anything modern. They just kept it the way it is. And it was quite beautiful to see that.
So transformation happens on many levels. It happens when we're ready for it. And also, most of the time, the opportunities for it show up when we think we're not ready for it. But you made the decision to go on this trip. And by going on this trip, you actually embrace the fact that, yes, you could. And at some point, you will actually use this trip as a transformational tool because your own memories of the past and seeing your father, who I know you remember you had lots of issues with, was just so painful. And now you are the one who seemed to have been in charge of the relationship. And what did you do? You chose compassion. That is huge, Sabina. And would you say of everything that you do on that trip, and you have my empathy about the autobahn, because I think it's one of the most frightening places to be. I don't know if anybody in our co-hosts has ever driven on the autobahn before. I didn't. I had a boyfriend in Frankfurt, and he loved to drive fast. He had a sports car. And I remember him picking me up from the airport once, and we immediately went to the autobahn. And I thought, you know what? I'm saying goodbye to everybody in my life right now. Goodbye, everyone. Energetically, this is it. We won't get off of this autobahn at all in one piece. I just don't want to be hooked up in bed to tubes for the rest of my life. So I do understand about the autobahn. It's quite an interesting experience. It's almost like seeing one's life flash by. And you made it, and you were driving, and also understand driving up all of those, windy roads and whatnot. I personally had a horrifying experience with that, which I'll tell you all another time, when I went to get my degree as a living food chef, and we'll talk about that another time. So, Sabina, overall, when you look back at this trip, because you just got back, what stands out for you as the most transformative aspect of it? And unmute yourself first, please.
It's really that transformative experience, taking something that can be challenges and turning it into gold. Like the relationship to my dad, I have never hugged my dad. I would hold his hand, I would kiss him on the forehead, and I would hug him. I would, stroke his chest, and I actually put my head on top of his heart. I had never done this to my dad ever. I mean, he was very distant. He was actually, he often hit me. He was not so-called the nicest person, and I never really felt any affection to my dad at all. But when I saw him lying there, all I saw is a little boy who just wants to be loved and held, and that's what I felt. I just want to be with him and hold him. And he would actually grab my hand, and then he would look at my son, and he would say in very mumbling language, but we could hear it, "My little boy." So he did recognize us. He definitely recognized my son. And when he held me, he pulled me towards him. He said, come. So there was definitely, at first, I wasn't sure if he recognizes us, but I believe he did. I felt it. And all I felt was love for this man. No anger, no sadness, nothing. It was just compassion and love. And that's a big piece, because for many years, I actually hated my dad. I wanted nothing to do with him. There was even a time when I was a teenager, I wanted to kill him. I thought about ideas. How can I get rid of my dad? And as soon as I was away from home, I actually didn't speak him for several years. And now, seeing coming full circle, all I feel is love for this man. And then also these experiences, like same on the Autobahn, actually I prayed, please get me there safe. That's what I kept praying the entire time, because it was really scary. And certain moments over there, I said, oh my God, this could have ended up in a really bad accident. So, taking that fear and transmuting it into courage, and trusting I'm going to get there safe. I will be protected. I will be guided no matter what. Also, when we went down these curvy roads, one day I cried, and my son said, Mom, what's going on? Why are you so emotional? And I said, I've never felt so much stress as driving here. And then I just took a deep breath. I said, I'm going to get to that curve. And I had to go 20 times back, forth. And eventually I got through that really sharp and steep curve. One side was the abyss. On the other side were the cliffs. So it was kind of a scary situation, but I made it through. And so finding the gold in all the challenges. And I kept wherever I went. And then the last place we went was Corsica, which was actually the biggest blessing, because the roads were bigger than Italy. There was much less tourism, much less going on. You could actually drive for an hour, not see a house or a village. You just drive with these beautiful mountains, and you see the ocean in the background. And those mountains are something out of this world. It reminded me a little bit like Lord of the Rings meet Peru, some mix of that, but it was very unique, the landscapes and the colors. And just driving there with bigger roads and not having a lot of cars on it was actually really enjoyable. And I really enjoyed that drive. And then the way back, we drove to the Swiss Alps, which were also big roads. And I also loved the drive. It was just spectacular, driving to these mountains. And this is different mountains than we have here. I live in the mountains, but the mountains I live is kindergarten compared to the Swiss Alps. So these are giant mountains, and the energy is so amazing just driving through there. It's majestic. That's what I felt, grand and majestic. So I loved then driving towards the end, driving to Switzerland and driving to Corsica. That was just such a breeze and such a blessing and pure beauty.
So what you started out with is thinking that this was a mistake and you shouldn't have done it. You ended up realizing there are no mistakes.
No.
You did it.
Yeah.
And now you can actually say, I'm glad I did it.
Absolutely, because there are no mistakes in life, And I made that choice. So I said, okay, let's just enjoy as much as I can and use these pieces that are challenging. And that's exactly what I need to learn right now, to expand and move in these uncomfortable spaces and learn to become comfortable in the uncomfortable. That was really the lesson. And now looking back, it was quite an adventure, but I learned a lot. I saw a lot. We experienced so much. For my son, who's 17, it was like, wow, such an eye-opener to see these different places with different cultures, different energies, different landscapes. And so for him it was also quite a beautiful gift.
Well, thank you so much, Sabine. I'm so glad that you did this. I am thrilled for you, actually. And so I'm going to actually bring on Lisa, because she also is taking a trip back home now. Lisa, tell us about where you used to grow up as well. So please unmute yourself and let us know what is this trip about for you, and how transformative, how open are you for it being transformative?
It's been, and first of all, I want to just thank Sabina for sharing just a really deeply personal and powerful story of her own healing that she did to reclaim her time with her father, and and to find compassion. What a beautiful thing to take your child through. I feel like when I listened, it's just deeply meaningful and transformative for not only you, but your son and ultimately your father. And I really admire and respect you for taking that trip. So for me, I grew up on Bainbridge Island. It's gorgeous here. It's in the Puget Sound, and all my relatives, my ancestors, my family, cousins, all grew up here. We're very fortunate. It's a beautiful place.
Lisa,
And
because we have an international audience, most people have no idea where Puget Sound is.
yes, it's in Seattle, near Seattle, Washington, in the northwest, Pacific Northwest. So for me, I have my childhood memories, I have my teenage memories, and I think a lot of times when you grow up somewhere, you have your own lens in which you look at the world. And I have been really working on a lot of healing for myself and coming back to my childhood home, which is where I am, where I grew up. My mom is alive still. So I have really found a place of healing because I started looking at this island from a new perspective. Instead of my old eyes, my old stories, my old way of places I go, I played tourist. I've been fresh eyes, really looked at this from a healed perspective, and healing is an ongoing journey, and asking my mom a lot of stories about her childhood because she grew up here. And just, it's been such a gift. I mean, it's such a gift for myself, such a gift for my mother to really look at what a beautiful place I was blessed to live in, and how thankful I am to be here with these new eyes, even at my age.
Even at your age. You're not an age, I don't think.
Whatever that is.
Thank you for that, Lisa. And so, Herb, when you hear these stories, Herb, with you and your fruits, all surrounded by those gorgeous fruits, you said to me when we first came on today that today's the day to let your hair down.
Yeah.
So can you just let us know, hearing all these stories of Sabina and the transformational trip that this was, and then Lisa's in the midst of hers still. I know that you also had something going on in your past, and have you gone home to the place you grew up?
Well, I'm so grateful to be a part of this. It's like I've got a front row seat on this wonderful podcast and hearing all the beautiful, touching stories. It's really wonderful, and it's inspiring. It gives others something to relate to, because we're all having this human experience, and we're all kind of fragile. We've gone through unpleasant experiences in life, and it is an alchemy. It is transforming lead into gold. And a reminder to have courage and love and compassion. The difficulty of that sometimes is we go through the experiences, and then time goes on, and then another challenge comes along, another curveball in life, and we can forget our past experience and fall back into our old ways. So it really takes us to be really present, and it helps having these experiences to have a recollection. So it's truly beautiful, and it just shows the magic of life, really. So where have I gone back to places where I grew up? I haven't really. Well, I used to live in London, and where I live now is in Essex. It's more in the countryside, and I've lived here for over 20 years. So I've got used to the quiet way of life. And I do remember before I healed myself, I went back to London for various things, and I instantly was riddled with anxiety. Just things were flooding back, like the noise and everything like that. It was hypersensitive, and had my back up because I didn't have a very pleasant upbringing in London, to be honest, which is why I moved away from there for my own safety. So going back there was very, very troublesome. But going through my transformation, like I've shared in the previous episodes where I've healed, there was this complete let go, surrender and courage. And when I went back there, I thrived. Like, I had such a wonderful time. I was just like interacting and engaging with strangers, with everyone, like carefree, with no anxiety, no issue whatsoever. It's just pure fun and joy. And I've learned to find the joys in insecurity, which is it's like a Zen saying, finding joy in insecurity. That's the way to I find to approach life. Yeah, in the face of fear, just have a song and dance and find enjoyment. You know, it's a let go and recognizing our attachments to our past and fears, and and it's having trust in existence. You know, knowing that everything is taken care of. You know, everything that we go through is all for our training, so to speak. You know. So yeah, that's what I can relate to with that. Going back to London, I would very much like to go back to the place where I grew up, see how it's changed and stuff like that. That would be interesting, and yeah, I would like to very much go back there and see what it's like, see the old school that I used to go to. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That I feel I'll get some kind of experience that would be of benefit. You know, some enjoyment from going back there.
Thank you for that very much, Herb. And the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be actually introducing you all to Pete, but I'm going to do it through a video. So before Pete comes on, let me just introduce you via the video, and then we will bring him on. So Pete, we have a lot today to actually look at and enjoy with you. However, just for now, could you just come on and just give us 2 or 3 sentences, because I've got more videos, of what you gained from looking back at the video, looking at your life, and listening to Sabina and Lisa and Herb just now.
It's beautiful that people can be open about and honest and transparent about their feelings. You know, if we could all do that more. So it's recognizing that we all go through stuff. We all have certain talents. So what we're doing in here, you know, is supporting and helping people in certain areas. But for me, more you peel off layers, new things come up. So I'm like 17 years in the raw food, and more deeper detoxes I do. It's just like you're experiencing as if it was just like your first experience of, you know, detox or trauma. So it's really good to have protocols. You know, I learned protocols clueless until 17 in these groups, and so it's really good to have some protocols. I mean, so what have I experienced and learned from everyone here? It's the openness and the compassion and the love. and recognizing, that is where is a great place to get back to. Also keeping our healthy boundaries, in terms of a lot of us tend to be unaware of that, especially from my childhood. And so I had to relearn that. I had to learn to be selfish. I was just very giving. I still am, but however, a little bit more objective, as well as so, and not letting it, I'm going to say not letting it scar me, but it's basically, that's an opportunity for me to look at debris that has not been cleared. So beautiful opportunities, so I see people here aspiring to share how everything is an opportunity. And if we do reiterate everything's perfect and everything's an opportunity, we really got to aspire to walk our talk, I mean, I can leave it there. Yeah.
Dorit, you're on mute.
Thank you, Lisa. So I think we need to differentiate between being selfish and self-care. They're not the same. I actually don't think that the opposite of not caring for oneself and just draining ourselves all the time, I don't think the opposite is being selfish. I think it's absolutely the opposite. You draw yourself back, you pull yourself back, you actually go to the space of harmony within you, and you start practicing self-care. So thanks for bringing that up, Pete. And I want to immediately go into actually what you've been doing. And I know that with some of this, Sabina is going to be very delighted. So I would like to remind all of you that none of this is cooked. Not anything there is cooked. This is actually the incredible alchemy of Pete and Hannah that you're watching. And they're in September, they have a big event coming up, which we're going to have a look at. But do you want, in just 2 or 3 sentences only, please, Pete, just tell us about the event coming up in September? And mute you.
Yes, we're doing so it's basing from what we've been doing over 17 years. So we're going to have 2 saunas. So the idea is self-care, self-love, nurture. We'll have 2 saunas, an ice bath, a hot tub, and the food workshops, yoga, jinshin, jiu-jitsu, and talks, different people coming in. We've got this lovely Iman Roots Reggae DJ, and we've got some other exciting bands coming up. Try not to sway too much into that, which is, about the health and wealth. And as you are, or we are, aspiring to be, let's just say, express here, a lot of that will be happening. There'll be craft things happening too.
So food can be transformative and can bring us into a place of transformation, which is what we're doing this. And this is, you've actually shown by the work that you've been doing, how you've transformed too, and also the alchemy that is needed to make something that's alive look just like cooked food, because so many people have not had a dietary transformation or long for it, but do not wish to give up what looked familiar to them, and you make the familiar actually looks enchantingly similar. So I'm going to just put up the information now about the event coming up in September, and then we're going to be speaking about all the different ways in which we transform our lives, and one of them, of course, is by going to events like this. So, can you write for us, please, Pete, on the comment section where people can find you for the festival that you have coming up in September? And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and speak about how food can be transformative. So, for example, this is some of the breads. Yes, Sabina. This is some of the breads. I know you love this, that they make, the living breads that they make, and that people will be able to enjoy the festival. So people say, oh, how can you live without bread? Well, I'm going to show you a video too later on, if we have time, of how they answer that question. But you see, you don't have to give up anything if you wish to stop eating foods that are overly cooked and eat food that are alive with the enzymes intact, and the colors, all the colors, not just of the rainbow, but all the intense colors of harmony, the harmonious living that is possible when we start following the laws of nature. These are their burgers. So for people who love burgers and say, oh, I cannot give up my burgers, I challenge you to try one of these and see what you think afterwards, but most importantly, how you feel afterwards. Do you feel bloated and tired and exhausted and full? Or do you feel light and airy and just full of joy and easy to move and very mobile? So this are their sandwiches. Yes, you can have a living foods diet with sandwiches as well. And these are some of the sandwiches that they have. And now here comes the pastries. And this is what brings most people to a living foods diet, are the desserts and the pastries. And as you can see, Pete and his partner Hannah, they have quite a huge amount of choices that they make. And this is the food that they make that's really food art. Because when you're using nature and you go to nature and you borrow from nature, it's already art. But then if you put your own self to it and your own sense of artistry to it, it becomes what I call double art. So there are many ways in which we can transform our lives. So I'm going to go into Sabina because I know some of these things she really liked. When you look at photographs like this, and Sabina, you just came back from Europe, you might want to make another trip to go to Glastonbury in September for this. It's not unmuting, is it? You're trying like your best and it's not unmuting. I'll see if I can unmute you. And I'm not able to either. No, it's still not unmuting, Sabina.
Is it working
Yes.
now? Okay,
Yes.
finally. Wow, Pete, I tell you, your food it's truly it is art, but I felt like I wanted to try everything. And it looks so delicious and so inviting. And just to add in, I did have some bread in Germany. I couldn't resist going to a bakery. And I did enjoy the bread. However, I got constipated. I just noticed It's not the same. My digest is not the same as here. So I had to stop, but I did indulge a little bit also in Italy in some bread. So when I see your bread, Pete, can you send this to the US? Would that be possible? I would love to have your bread. So otherwise I have to come to England at some point, but I just came back from Europe, so I'm not planning to go back, but I would love everything about your food. It's like, yeah, I would call it like art in a museum. It's beautiful, it's colorful, it just draws you in. So thank you for creating such beauty, because we need more beauty in this world. And it starts with the food, because what I see, what most people eat is brown and beige and not very inviting. So thank you for all you do, Pete, for making such a difference in this world. You are so needed.
I agree very much. Lisa, how do you feel when you see this? What do you think?
I was so hungry. I was like, and I think it just really shows you that, you know, a lot of times I think people think I'm going to limit myself when I transition into a diet like that. And I think it just really expands the idea of what's possible. And I can imagine the food is super energizing and healing. And I just, it's gorgeous, beautiful. I wish it made me want to go right there and heal with you and jump in that cold plunge and do some saunas. It's just beautiful. Wow. All of that. What a gift. What a gift, Pete, to take what you've learned and to share it with others and invite them to heal with you. I think that's just amazing.
And so everybody can. They're doing this in Glastonbury in September. What's the date in September, please?
It's the 11th to the 14th. So yes, I mean, come along, because it'll be very nurturing and lots of sharing going on. It'll be amazing and beautiful.
Maybe we could even do a show from there.
And I was just going to, yeah, that'd be great. And I was just going to say also, over the years, we've really incorporated like herbs from the garden in the crust, sea moss, and, you know, whether it's dandelion root, burdock root. So it's all going in the what you see. So it's not just heavy foods. We tend to use avocado as opposed to cashews. In the first 7 years, I was heavy cashews, heavy dates, heavy cacao for 11 years. But anyway, so it's more carob now, and we're really, really doing alchemy in the crackers, in the carob chocolates, and in the crusts, in the fillings, in the pastries. All, you know, beautiful herbs, dried herbs from the garden are going in and stuff like that.
Well, I am thrilled that you're using carob instead of chocolate and cacao. Thank you. Thank you
Mm.
very much for that. And for people, you know, who have never eaten and tried this lifestyle herb, how would you explain this to them if they say, I'm not sure I want to go to that? It does look familiar, though, a lot of that stuff. Maybe I ought to, or maybe I won't like it. What would you say to them?
You got to try it, because you're missing out. You know, you're missing out. And you know what Pete's created and Hannah have created, like, you can see it's just oozing with love and creativity. You know, it's not just creating something beautiful. So much thought and love has gone into it. How the ingredients are sourced, how they're sourced. You know, Pete's been on this lifestyle for like 18 years now. He knows, you know, he's made mistakes. He knows what works and what doesn't work, and all his experience, all that he's learned, he's sharing with others. And I see, you know, Pete and Hannah doing a beautiful thing. I see them as like a flagship for, especially in this country where we are in the United Kingdom. There's nothing else like it. It's a great model, you know, and to inspire many others to try this. And if you get an opportunity to come along to one of these festivals, you really got to come along, because the last festival I come along, that I was involved with Pete and Hannah preparing this food, you know, I learned so much anyway by being there, creating some of the food and sharing with others. all what was served up, the plates were coming back empty, and people wanted more. The same people coming back time and time over and over again. It was just amazing. And everyone was commenting how amazing that they felt just eating this raw food. And people were curious at some of the creations that they never heard of before. They'd never seen anything. When you tell them the ingredients, like, oh, okay, I'll try that. And their faces would just light up. So it's beautiful. And yeah, just how we eat, most of us eat, it's really holding us back in life. You really got to give it a go and feel the difference.
So transformation by changing our diet is actually the easiest form of transformation, in my opinion. Now, you helped out at one of these festivals with Pete and Hannah. Did you also, because you are a professional cyclist, did you get on that bicycle to actually power that blender?
I had a little go, yeah. A little go on that, yeah. That was fun.
I think every bicyclist should have a blender attached to their bicycles. So by the end of a race,
yeah, that'd be amazing. I'll think about powering my house up with it, the electric, get on the bike and just work something, put that energy to good use, But yeah, it's a great way with the blender. It's brilliant.
You'll have to bring your bike down next time.
Yeah.
I'll bring my welder and my tools and a blender.
So what I'm going to show now, Pete, I want you to speak about ice baths. And because you're going to have ice baths at the festival as well. So
we will have one there. Anyone can do it. So I was amazed when a friend of mine 7 years ago, I think Darius, he was saying, "Oh, Pete, you can get these, make them DIY because they're expensive." So, and he sent me the clip, and from a basic freezer, there's a method you can use that. So I was doing saunas and showers, cold showers, up to about, let's say 10 years, and then came across the Wim Hof and other methods, and then started doing the ice bath, and it was just off the charts in comparison. In terms of what I have experienced with other people, when we mentioned food, massively, I treated food as if it was just like I was doing yoga. I didn't eventually have to think about it. And by the way, over the last 5 years, the creations have, become more art because of Hannah's input, and with like 2 kids in the kitchen. So the ice bath, I had to kind of give warnings, like with the food sometimes, because people can take it for granted. And I've had people do many protocols through their life, people teaching certain protocols, and just stunned and shocked of what they was witnessing coming up, because I work with my dream state fairly well and aspire to stay more in the 2 realms. It's amazing. You actually getting to see many things, and eventually, with a group I had over for about 4 months, chose to join me 6 a.m. every rising. This is from Crops Not Shops, and amazing. They're doing amazing work. Eventually, I had to realize, wow, your day's going to change. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, if you start getting into, let's say, stories or problems with the close ones or whatever, it's just, so I have to aspire to show them that stuff's going to come up. And also, we're on a strong ley line here, so everything is amplified, and we could get caught up in the problems, and this place does this and separates relationships, but it just amplifies. So it gives us the opportunity to really look at our stuff. The big problem I find, we just don't have the tools. I was clueless till 17, and then bumbling through life with the tools I had then, and then to where I am now. And the reason why I only really shifted was because I had a safe wake up at 43, and literally shown my gravestone, in my dream state, like a Christmas Carol scenario, like with Scrooge. I wasn't tight, but that kind of scenario. So I do reiterate that too, because people can project their egos and why are you doing it, and all things like that, to express as well. I've been, say, 16 years doing this at festivals, and it's subtly showing, sharing an embodiment that I was fast tracking into back then. And then a kind of a cosmic kick out the door, the old Pete, I don't want to be doing that, So it was more just, you could say, you can only serve two masters. So it's like this new master was coming in, kicking the old one out. So, and I was nurturing a child, actually. I really recognized we could call it a spirit coming in, but I had this image of a child in me over the first few years, and it'd peep out every so often. Because you can imagine, I mean, there is what's that movie? Won't say that movie, but it was seeing if the child could truly trust me. Now, if I look back on my life, or many people in their life, we've been crippling ourselves, crippling our child, So I'm going to use that analogy, and it wasn't even using the analogy. That was what I was witnessing. So I had to really prove myself, to be honest. And even when I'm doing the foods, it's like I was guided by that child. And it's just like literally my children now grown up, and we got a new one. So it's like they'll let you know if they like it or not, So I had to work with the colors and the flavors and to satisfy my own child, which, I'm not separate from. However, a lot of us are separate from many archetypes and many aspects of ourselves. So it really come in strong. So my child's with me now, my child's with me. Many aspects of me is with me. So that was a big one, nurturing this child that has been unnurtured since the age of about 3, 2, 3, because of, many different traumas. And you can get through them. I'm so happy to be alive. Some people are in life here, and, more in this world, let's just say a part of this world. So it's this has been amazing protocol. And then sometimes people don't realize we can do all these other protocols, and then we eat something that's detrimental. And, I can eat more heavier foods, and it's not detrimental to give myself a hard time, but I noticed the difference. And that's my journey, because I don't even have to say, I would have been gone within 3 or 4 months, youngest of 6, witnessed others, and really got to become aware of the dynamics of the food and trauma and habitual patterns we pass down and that we are in. And this was so alien to me. So I've come from so alien, didn't even go to the beach before didn't even see the sea before I was 9 and things like that. So it's been a beautiful experience. I'm going to say I chose. And what a playground. And then experiencing so many people at festivals, people will challenge this, challenge that, and I'd go and research. And so I learned quite a lot, as well as people ask me, I'll share. Other than that, I won't judge. I would go with my youngest daughter, who's 22 now. She loves seeing her nieces and cousins, and we'd go to McDonald's because my other sister, they had a play area. But there I'd be with my raw lasagna, and then they would wonder what that is, try it, and it's like, wow, it's quite nice. So I would just subtly do things like that, really, as opposed to I'm not going there. So I could sit in them spaces in terms of revisiting my old home, whether, born in Croydon. I mean, it's changed a lot. So it's an inner journey. Have I put them things or integrated them aspects of potential shock and traumas, all the association? I mean, it's amazing with Sabina and her father, how beautiful that she could come to that point. And so, yeah, I could go back there. However, it's beautiful to go back and get to a place where you can choose. If you were brought up in a war zone, why would you want to keep going back to the war zone? Some people may choose that and be very conscious of why they are choosing that. But to me, it's having a conscious, luscious, being able to see why, having more of a deep awareness and a love fiction, I'm going to call it, rather than the con word. So the food has been amazing. The food has been amazing. It's been a catalyst. And I realized as I was being guided, it is to kind of pull people in. But I won myself first. It's like, I can't do anything for anyone else apart from heal myself, and they cannot do anything from me apart from heal themselves. So once I would say I've healed lots of myself, then that's coming out as well as in our food and in the way we express and by example. We've all got things to learn. It's just like, we'll all have the potential. It's not like, oh, many better. It's just we all have different experiences here to share and realize we're all part of a jigsaw puzzle, as opposed to getting up on our pedestal or whatever it may be, So I learned so much from Zola, who's a conduit, and it's it's beautiful to be alive. I remember, just quick one story. I remember someone sort of say my eldest son wasn't really planned, and oh wow, that wasn't planned. And I'm going to say my sons, I can say, are really pleased to be alive. So just having all these kind of cliches and these sentences, I'm not saying we have to be careful, and they're spelled. So it's just like the more we clear ourselves, we tend to not be caught up in these words and language, which can be very used in a detrimental way, and we don't even realize with real eyes. So I can go on and on. So the food has been an amazing catalyst. Why I chose that journey, because my daughter who's 22 now, 5, and my sons were about 17, 18. It wasn't pining, I didn't want to go, but I want to be around for them. And the biggest experience for me in relation to, 17, I did get some tools. We lost a child, 19, our first child, when I was 19. So that was a massive experience for me, and got me to really appreciate children. Because can you imagine going up to the 9 months and all the rooms ready and everything like that? So, and then 7, 8 years, we did separate, but I lost my sister around that time. Now that's my first real experience of death. And she would be coming in my dreams and everything, meaning showing me that everything is fine. She would really reiterate a whole different perspective to death, to the point that I had to hold it down with other people. So my inner core of death isn't as everyone else. It's not saying everyone. So I've had that from an early age. And it's how do you articulate that and edit that when you're telling other people who have lost, say, a member. To me, we never lose. We never lose a member, They are always here. If we can get really more here, we are plugging into a lot of the radio waves when we choose to. Anyway.
Absolutely. Yes. And thank you so much for that. This is a lot of information to show people just how much we can transform anything and everything in our lives and come out on the other end, actually, and use those experiences as these are tools. These are vessels for us to grow and to learn and to expand and to create for ourselves a life where we're not a victim, but the opposite. This can be the catalyst. These things that we dislike so much, the experiences we don't want to be in, the catalyst for tremendous growth and empowerment. And as I want to remind those of you in Los Angeles that this next coming week, actually Friday, we're going to be showing the film The End of Medicine at my event, which is at the first Friday of every month at Olac Vegetarian Restaurant, which is not really vegetarian. They're Vietnamese, and they call it, most people in Asia will say vegetarian rather than vegan. And as you can see here, Joaquin Phoenix is the executive producer. When we're showing this film free of charge, we have a Living Foods menu. You all are invited. You just have to pay the restaurant directly if you order any food. There's a special Living Foods menu that's created by Chef Ito, who is a chef from Japan who has taken a vow of silence. And so he makes food in a very extremely mindful way. And so the first Friday of every month, we have this in Los Angeles downtown, and I invite you all to attend. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We're finished, so we don't have much time to actually go through everyone bit by bit today. I trust that this will be a transformative experience for you, from listening to Sabina's experiences of her trip to Pete's experiences as he went through his life. And I look forward to seeing you all next week again, when Blythe will be back. And I think Lisa will be back also. Will you? Yeah, Lisa, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. And in the meantime, every experience that you attend to this week, attend to it from your heart, put yourself fully into it. If you feel sorry for yourself, then go deep within it and then let it go. Don't ignore something that you're feeling, but first access it. And then that's the way you have to go through it. You have to plunge through it and go deep into it before you're able to let it go. Otherwise, it just keeps coming back up for you. So thanks, everyone. And bye for now. Join us again.